As we step into the golden season of life, when the pace slows and the world around us begins to change, we are often met with a profound mixture of emotions: gratitude, reflection, and sometimes quiet uncertainty. Growing old is not merely about counting the years, but about learning how to live with grace, dignity, and wisdom when life's spotlight gently fades. In today's story, we dive into the heartfelt guidance of a retired Harvard professor whose words have touched countless seniors, moving them to tears, not because his message is sad, but because it strikes at the very core of what it means to live fully in the later chapters of our lives. His insights remind us that aging is not a curse but an opportunity, a chance to refine what truly matters, to protect our peace, and to embrace the joy that still lingers in every sunrise. Whether you are already navigating your senior years or standing on the doorstep of this inevitable journey, these lessons carry timeless value. So let us sit together, as if under the warm sun of a late afternoon, and listen carefully to the wisdom that may just transform the way we view aging itself. Part 1. The priceless value of financial independence in old age. In the quiet twilight of life, few things are as essential and as fragile as financial independence. It's a strange paradox. We spend our youth accumulating wealth, sacrificing leisure for security, building a safety net brick by brick, only to find, as the years go on, that the true value of money lies not in possession, but in how wisely we manage it when time is no longer our ally. The retired professor begins his counsel here with firm but compassionate words. Never allow your children to know the exact amount of your savings. At first glance, this sounds harsh, perhaps even cold. After all, aren't children meant to be our most trusted confidants? But beneath this seemingly rigid rule lies a bitter truth that many older adults have learned too late. Money, even among loving families, can become a dangerous wedge. The professor shares stories drawn from both personal encounters and years of research, of families torn apart not by hatred but by financial disputes. Siblings, once inseparable, now only communicate through lawyers. Grandchildren grow distant as conflicts brew over inheritances and entitlement. The love that once defined the family erodes under the corrosive weight of unspoken expectations and whispered resentments. He points to studies estimating that nearly 70% of family disputes in old age revolve around financial matters. Money is money, kin is kin, he says. The two are best kept separate, especially in old age when you have more to lose than gain by blurring the lines. Transparency can breed comparison, competition, and eventually cold-hearted calculations about what remains to be inherited. The professor's wisdom does not suggest secrecy out of mistrust, but rather boundaries born of protection. Your lifetime savings were earned with decades of sweat and sacrifice. Do not allow it to become the seed of discord for those you love most. Yet financial independence is not merely about keeping account balances private. It extends to decisions that shape dignity in one's final decades. Hold on to your house, he cautions. The home you've lived in for decades is not just a building. It's your sanctuary, your history, your final fortress against the loneliness of old age. Sweet words and promises from children about selling it for your own good or more convenience often mask intentions they themselves may not fully realize. He shares tragic stories of seniors who sold their lifelong homes at the request of their children, only to find themselves displaced, financially vulnerable, and emotionally adrift. Without that safe refuge, many discover too late that comfort and security cannot easily be bought back. A home is not simply walls and a roof, it is dignity embodied. The professor warns further about the subtle traps of late-life generosity. Do not fund your grandchildren's lives with your retirement savings, he says firmly. While many grandparents are tempted to help with school fees, weddings, or home purchases, the emotional rewards often blind them to the consequences. Studies show that over 60% of grandparents who extensively financially support their grandchildren report feeling drained, unappreciated, or even taken for granted. And then there are the darker tales, stories of adult children who see their aging parents as financial safety nets, drawing funds endlessly, with little thought for the elders' future needs. The professor calls this the quiet erosion of dignity, where love becomes transactional and obligations replace gratitude. He advises seniors to prioritize their own well-being first. Your job at this stage of life is not to finance your descendants' ambitions, but to protect your own stability. True love is not about sacrificing your security, it's about preserving your independence. Beyond family, the professor speaks cautiously about lending money outside the home. He outlines 3 financial dangers to avoid entirely. Never lend money unless it's for true emergencies like illness or natural disaster. Never invest in high-risk schemes promising unrealistic returns at this stage of life. Never finance gambling habits, no matter how small the amount requested. Each carries the potential to decimate savings that were meant to safeguard dignity and self-reliance. He reminds his audience that recovering lost wealth becomes near impossible once retirement income stops flowing. In closing this first counsel, the professor's voice softens, but his message remains resolute. You spent a lifetime building your financial independence. In your later years, you must guard it with even greater care. Financial security is not selfishness, it is self-preservation, and only by preserving it can you face your golden years with peace, pride, and stability. Part 2. Preserving love, boundaries, and emotional peace in the later years. As we step into our senior years, many people mistakenly believe that the biggest threats to happiness are physical illness or financial instability. But the retired professor warns us of something far more subtle and corrosive: emotional missteps and relationship mistakes that chip away at our peace of mind. His second group of advice centers on how to navigate relationships, especially with spouses, children, and grandchildren, in a way that preserves both dignity and harmony. The biggest wounds in old age often come not from strangers, he says, but from those we love the most. 1. Cherish your spouse. Loyalty over love. In youth, love is passion, fiery, emotional, sometimes turbulent. But in old age, love transforms into something deeper: loyalty, companionship, and quiet understanding. The professor emphasizes, after 60, your spouse becomes your closest comrade in arms. With children busy raising their own families, friends drifting away, and physical limitations creeping in, a husband or wife becomes your anchor, the person who shares your daily joys and burdens. Arguments over trivial matters, chores, habits, minor annoyances, should not be allowed to grow into conflicts. A peaceful marriage at this stage isn't about who's right, but about creating a warm, stable harbor in the stormy sea of aging. He shares stories of elderly couples who bicker endlessly over small things, slowly poisoning their remaining years together. In contrast, those who choose forgiveness, patience, and gratitude often enjoy some of the most contented years of their entire marriage. Speak kindly, listen patiently, and treat your spouse not as a burden, but as a blessing. 2. Set boundaries with your children. Balance love with distance. Few topics cause more pain for older adults than their relationship with grown children. Parents naturally want to be close to their children, but the professor warns that excessive involvement, expectations, or interference often backfire. He introduces the 3-day rule with a gentle smile. Do not stay at your children's home for more than 3 days. Though it may feel cold, this simple guideline prevents tensions from building silently. Even when children don't voice discomfort, prolonged visits can strain marriages, disrupt routines, and turn affection into quiet resentment. The professor shares how many parents fail to recognize that their children are juggling careers, child-rearing, financial pressures, and personal challenges. Releasing control and giving them space allows love to flourish naturally rather than become obligatory. 3. Don't sacrifice yourself to raise grandchildren. Many seniors feel an overwhelming desire to help raise their grandchildren, but the professor offers a hard-earned truth. If you sacrifice your final decades to caregiving, you may lose both your health and your dignity. Research shows that over 60% of seniors who take on primary responsibility for raising grandchildren report feeling physically exhausted, emotionally drained, and financially strained. Meanwhile, younger parents may come to take that help for granted, forgetting that seniors themselves have limited energy and time. The professor encourages grandparents to love and enjoy their grandchildren, but without assuming full-time parental duties. Play with them, guide them, offer occasional support, but protect your own well-being first. You've earned your rest. 4. Avoid new marriages in later life without caution. For seniors who are widowed or divorced, the temptation to seek new companionship is natural. Loneliness can be heavy, yet the professor urges caution. After 60, a new marriage can create more problems than it solves. Blending lives, finances, habits, and family expectations at an advanced age often brings unforeseen conflicts. Disagreements over money, inheritance, and daily routines can quickly turn companionship into strain. Instead of rushing into legal commitments, the professor suggests enjoying friendship, companionship, and shared activities without necessarily formalizing the relationship. Freedom and stability are far more valuable than legal titles at this stage, he smiles gently. 5. Let go of unrealistic expectations. Perhaps the most profound relationship advice the professor offers is this: the less you expect from others, the more peace you will have. Expecting children to constantly visit, care, or financially support their parents often leads to disappointment. Modern life places enormous demands on younger generations: careers, children, mortgages, health issues of their own. Instead of clinging to expectations, the professor advises embracing whatever time and attention they can offer with gratitude. He uses the metaphor of flying a kite. Loosen your grip slightly, and the kite will fly higher. 6. Protect yourself from family conflicts. Finally, the professor strongly advises seniors to stay away from financial, romantic, or real estate disputes among their children or extended family. He recounts cautionary tales of parents who tried to help adult children buy homes, settle inheritance battles, or mediate marital conflicts, only to find themselves resented by one side and blamed by the other. You are not equipped to fix every problem, he says. By staying neutral and offering emotional support, not solutions, you protect your own peace of mind and preserve relationships on both sides. The core of emotional peace in old age. Summarizing his counsel, the professor offers a gentle but profound truth. At this stage of life, your greatest treasure is peace. Not control, not authority, not sacrifice, but peace. He urges seniors to choose kindness over correction, acceptance over expectation, and distance over interference. Through these seemingly simple choices, seniors can create a golden period of life defined not by loneliness or frustration, but by harmony, dignity, and lasting emotional stability. Part 3. Financial Wisdom for Seniors, Protecting Stability, Independence, and Peace. As seniors cross into their golden years, many mistakenly believe that money is no longer a primary concern. After all, careers have ended, mortgages may be paid off, and material desires often shrink. But according to the retired Harvard professor, your financial decisions after 60 are often the most dangerous ones you'll ever face. Unlike earlier stages of life, when mistakes can be corrected with time and labor, financial missteps in old age can be devastating, leaving no time or means for recovery. Therefore, this third set of lessons focuses entirely on money, how to manage it wisely, protect it fiercely, and avoid the common traps that destroy both finances and family harmony. 1. Never disclose your total savings to your children. While it may feel natural to be transparent with your children about your assets, the professor firmly warns against it. Money is money. Kin is kin. The moment they know how much you have, the risk of conflict multiplies. Even the most loving siblings can fall into conflict when inheritance becomes involved. What begins as peaceful discussions can quickly spiral into accusations, entitlement, and broken relationships. The professor recounts tragic stories where siblings went to court, suing one another for larger shares of their parents' estate. The stress, bitterness, and permanent rifts that follow often haunt surviving family members for years. You worked hard your entire life. Don't let your savings become the poison that ruins your children's relationships. Instead, the professor advises carefully managing and safeguarding your assets privately, with proper legal protections such as living wills, trusts, and clearly designated beneficiaries, all arranged discreetly in advance. 2. Hold on to your house as long as possible. In many cultures, children try persuading elderly parents to sell their home, often under the guise of helping manage finances or making caregiving easier. But the professor urges extreme caution here. Your house is not just real estate, it's your final fortress. Beyond its financial value, a home carries deep emotional security, a place of memories, autonomy, and dignity. Once you surrender it, you may find yourself completely dependent on others' goodwill. The professor advises seniors to downsize only if absolutely necessary for safety or health reasons, not because of outside pressure or promises of better arrangements from family. When the world outside becomes unstable, your home is where your peace will remain intact. 3. Avoid lending money recklessly. Many seniors, out of love or guilt, continue lending money to family, friends, or acquaintances late in life. But the professor offers a hard truth. Money lent is rarely fully returned, and every unpaid debt chips away at your security. He categorizes lending risks into 3 groups: emergency lending, serious illness, disaster; acceptable but with limits; high-return investments. Absolutely avoid at this stage. Seniors cannot afford risky losses. Gambling or speculative requests, refuse immediately, no exceptions. At this phase of life, your savings are no longer renewable. Loans gone bad do not just empty your wallet, they endanger your ability to remain independent and comfortable. 4. Do not fund your children's expensive purchases. Whether it's helping with house down payments, cars, or lavish weddings, the professor recommends support emotionally, not financially. He explains that well-meaning parents often overextend themselves trying to assist their children's adult milestones, only to find themselves financially vulnerable later. Moreover, some children may begin seeing parental assistance as an obligation rather than a gift, which erodes gratitude and breeds resentment. If you must help, do so within strict limits that never compromise your own stability, the professor advises. 5. Never co-sign or guarantee loans for others. One of the gravest financial mistakes seniors make is co-signing loans for relatives or friends. When you co-sign, you are taking full responsibility for someone else's debt and their potential failures. If they default, creditors will come after you, regardless of your age or health. Seniors with fixed incomes are especially vulnerable in these situations, often losing homes, savings, or retirement funds overnight. The professor urges seniors to practice gentle but firm refusal in such situations. Say no kindly, but say it clearly. You cannot afford to risk your final decades for someone else's ambitions or mistakes. 6. Avoid becoming the family bank. Perhaps the most emotionally painful scenario seniors face is feeling obligated to become the endless financial safety net for family members who fail to manage their own finances responsibly. The professor warns, every dollar you give repeatedly trains people to depend on you, instead of solving their own problems. He tells stories of seniors drained by repeated bailouts, sometimes even enduring emotional blackmail from relatives who exploit their love and generosity. The professor's rule is simple: help once if it's truly urgent, help twice if it's truly unavoidable, but after that, you must say no, for their sake and yours. 7. Enjoy your wealth while you still can. One of the most beautiful and heartbreaking truths the professor shares is how many elderly people die leaving untouched savings, never daring to spend the money they sacrificed decades to earn. You saved for decades. Now is the time to spend it wisely on yourself. Enjoy good food. Travel if you're able. Take hobbies or lessons you always postponed. Pay for quality healthcare and create comfort at home. Seniors who refuse to enjoy their wealth often leave behind piles of untouched money that ultimately cause the very family fights they tried to avoid. The professor smiles and sums it up. Don't take your money to the grave. Take joy in it while you're still alive. The financial key to aging gracefully. In closing this section, the professor offers one final piece of wisdom. In old age, financial security isn't about building wealth. It's about preserving peace. Manage your money so that you can sleep at night, knowing you owe nothing to anyone and no one can shake your independence. Through these careful choices, seniors can ensure that their final decades are not plagued by avoidable money troubles, but instead filled with calm, dignity, and quiet satisfaction. Part 4. Health Wisdom for Seniors. the non-negotiable foundation of a happy old age. Throughout his speech, the retired Harvard professor repeats one truth more than any other. Without health, everything else is meaningless. You may have wealth, children, a beautiful home, or even emotional peace, but none of these can be fully enjoyed if your health collapses. Therefore, in this fourth section, we dive deeply into his most passionate lessons about maintaining physical and mental well-being as the true cornerstone of a dignified old age. 1. Never ignore your body's signals. The professor begins bluntly. When you're young, you can afford to overlook minor aches. In old age, you cannot. At this stage, early detection saves lives. That persistent cough, recurring fatigue, or unusual pain, none should be ignored or self-treated for too long. Older adults must overcome the habit of toughing it out and instead seek medical advice as soon as symptoms arise. In old age, every small problem has the potential to become big overnight. Regular checkups, blood work, and screenings for heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and bone health become your safety net. Prevention is far easier and cheaper than treatment. 2. Sleep is your body's most powerful medicine. In his firm but gentle tone, the professor proclaims, "Sleep is gold. Do not sacrifice it." Poor sleep is not simply an inconvenience. It affects memory, mood, immunity, and even life expectancy. Studies now confirm that chronic sleep deprivation increases the risk of dementia, heart disease, diabetes, and depression. Good sleep repairs your cells, stabilizes emotions, clears your mind, and strengthens your heart. The professor recommends creating a simple but strict sleep hygiene routine, fixed bedtime and wake-up schedule. No screens 1 hour before bed. Dark, cool, and quiet bedroom. Avoid caffeine, alcohol, and heavy meals at night. Light evening walks or gentle stretches to calm the body. Protect your sleep like you protect your savings, he urges. 3. Exercise, the silent key to longevity. Many elderly people fear exercise, believing it's too dangerous or unnecessary. The professor, however, insists exercise is not optional, it's mandatory. Not for building muscles or running marathons, but for preserving mobility, strength, balance, and circulation. Gentle daily walks, light stretching, tai chi or yoga. Simple resistance exercises using light weights or bands. Balance training to prevent falls. The goal is to keep your muscles strong, your bones dense, and your joints flexible. Regular movement reduces inflammation, improves mood, and maintains heart health. If you keep moving, you keep living, the professor summarizes. 4. Nutrition, eating for energy, not indulgence. The professor challenges the harmful habits of overeating or eating emotionally in old age. Your body needs fuel, not reward. He advises plenty of colorful fruits and vegetables, high-fiber foods like oats, beans, and whole grains, lean proteins, fish, chicken, eggs, tofu. Omega-3 rich foods, salmon, walnuts, flaxseed, limited processed sugars and fried foods, adequate hydration, but limit sugary drinks. Eat for strength, not for comfort. Your plate is your medicine. A well-balanced diet fights inflammation, protects cognition, stabilizes blood sugar, and extends life quality. 5. Avoid self-neglect due to thriftiness. One heartbreaking mistake the professor often sees is elderly people refusing necessary care or healthy foods because of frugality. You've saved your whole life. Now is the time to spend on your health. He pleads with seniors not to skip doctor visits, medications, therapy, or high-quality nutrition out of fear of expenses. Your health is not an expense. It is an investment. Money lost can be earned in youth. In old age, time and strength lost are almost impossible to regain. 6. Mental health, guarding against loneliness and anxiety. The professor shifts softly into a more emotional tone. The heaviest disease in old age is not cancer or heart failure. It is loneliness. Isolation breeds depression, cognitive decline, and even physical illness. Therefore, stay socially connected. Join community groups or clubs. Call family regularly. Engage in hobbies. Volunteer or mentor younger generations. The professor explains, Human connection is medicine for the soul. Even one friend can extend your life. In addition, he warns against obsessive worrying. What cannot be changed, release. Peace is stronger than fear. 7. Preserve independence but accept support wisely. Finally, the professor acknowledges that declining health may eventually require external help. But he adds, accept assistance when needed, not as weakness, but as wisdom. Whether it's part-time caregivers, home aides, or assisted living, receiving help allows seniors to remain safer and more comfortable while preserving their dignity and peace. The goal is not to prove you're still young. The goal is to live well for as long as you can. Health is the core pillar of senior happiness. The professor closes this lesson with his most powerful reminder. Good health gives you freedom. Poor health steals it. Every small effort you make for your health today is a gift your future self will thank you for. Spend your final years living, not merely surviving. Part 5. The mental strength of seniors, the last and greatest wisdom of old age. As the professor nears the end of his profound teaching, he touches the most delicate yet powerful realm, the mastery of the mind. Because after 60, it is no longer the muscles nor even the money that determine one's happiness. It is mental strength, emotional stability, and the wisdom to face life as it truly is. Old age doesn't break you. The refusal to adjust is what breaks you. 1. Abandon expectations. Accept reality. The professor explains that one of the deepest sources of suffering for seniors is disappointment. Children do not visit as often. Grandchildren grow distant, old friendships fade. The world moves on faster than we can follow, but rather than grow bitter, he encourages, release the desire to control what others do. Love them, wish them well, but do not expect them to fill your emptiness. Your joy must come from within. Lower expectations, raise acceptance, and peace will follow. 2. Freedom from competition and comparison. In youth, competition drives careers and ambitions, but in old age, the professor warns, comparison poisons contentment. Whether it's comparing health, wealth, or how frequently children visit, every comparison steals peace. There will always be someone better off, someone worse off, but your life is yours alone to cherish. The mature mind learns to savor simple things, a warm meal, a sunny morning, a kind conversation. Contentment is the true luxury of old age. 3. The courage to release anger and grudges. The professor speaks gently but firmly. Anger destroys your own health, not your enemy. He warns against holding resentments toward children, relatives, or even life itself. As years grow shorter, forgiveness becomes the only way to protect one's peace. Letting go of old hurts is not surrender, it's self-rescue. 4. The wisdom of silence. In earlier life, we often speak impulsively, but in old age, wisdom lies in restraint. Speak less, listen more, observe always. Harsh words wound deeply. Gossip poisons relationships. The professor urges, avoid interfering in your children's marriages. Stay away from relatives' property disputes. Do not offer financial advice unless asked. Not every truth needs to be spoken. Silence is often the highest form of intelligence. 5. Let go of pride. Embrace humility. One of the hardest lessons in later life is releasing pride. Pride that children should serve you. Pride that your advice must always be followed. Pride that you know better because you are older. The professor smiles gently and says, the more you insist, the lonelier you will become. Humility opens doors to love. Pride closes them. 6. Don't fear. Being alone, master solitude. Many seniors fear loneliness, but the professor teaches that solitude can be transformed into peace. When you no longer fear being alone, you have reached true freedom. In solitude, one can read, write, reflect, pray, meditate, walk, observe nature. Find joy in small routines. Solitude is not emptiness. It is stillness where you meet yourself. 7. Face mortality with calm acceptance. The professor does not shy away from the hardest truth. Death is certain, only the timing is unknown. But fearing it only steals joy from today. Instead, write a will, prepare finances, express your wishes for care. Forgive old conflicts, leave no words unsaid to loved ones. Prepare for death to fully embrace life. He adds, each sunrise is a gift. Unwrap it gratefully, live it joyfully. 8. Keep your heart young, the final secret. In closing, the professor reveals the final secret of happy old age. Keep your heart young, even as your body ages. Stay curious, laugh easily, dress neatly. Take care of your appearance, be kind to others, stay open to new friendships. Gray hair means nothing if your spirit remains youthful. The greatest triumph of aging, inner peace. The professor ends with one final truth. You do not grow old when your body weakens. You grow old when your mind closes. Keep it open, keep it light, and you will live beautifully no matter your age. Part 6. Financial freedom and security in old age, standing strong against life's final challenges. As twilight descends upon every human life, concerns about finances, health, and safety gradually take center stage. The retired professor offered this wisdom. We cannot control everything, but we can prepare ourselves to stand firm when the storms arrive. 1. Safeguard your finances. Don't let money become a source of disaster. In old age, money is no longer ambition. It is protection for peace of mind. The professor cautioned, never disclose the full extent of your assets to your children. Never hastily transfer property titles due to sweet promises. Never co-sign loans or borrow on behalf of others. Avoid risky investments, pyramid schemes, and too-good-to-be-true offers. He gently reminded, money is the fruit of a lifetime's labor. It must be preserved. Once lost, no one can return it to you. Guard your finances to avoid being at the mercy of others. 2. Don't rush into remarriage after living alone. In advanced age, loneliness easily pushes people into hasty relationships. The professor bluntly stated, marriage in old age carries more pitfalls than you imagine. Because differences in habits, finances, and blended family dynamics. Difficulty adjusting after decades of independent living. Minor conflicts can escalate into serious rifts. He advised, if you find a truly understanding companion, it's a blessing. But it is better to be alone in peace than to live together in constant exhaustion and conflict. 3. Safeguard your home, your final fortress. The home is the final warm haven. Don't let it slip away. The professor shared heartbreaking stories of elders who lost their homes after transferring ownership too easily to their children, only to be left behind in tears. He emphasized, keep legal ownership in your name. Only transfer property with legal counsel and clear necessity. If living together, draft clear agreements. Prepare appropriate long-term living arrangements. As long as you keep your home, you keep your independence in old age. 4. Prepare for long-term healthcare needs. The professor said, no one desires illness, but everyone must plan for it. He stressed, purchase comprehensive health insurance. Maintain regular medical records and checkups. Keep clear documentation of medications and treatments. Consider assisted living if needed. Appoint a trusted medical and legal guardian in advance. Preparing early is an act of love for yourself and your family. 5. Don't become an endless, walking ATM. Countless tragedies have struck when seniors lend money impulsively, co-sign large debts, fall into investment scams, join financial pyramids or dubious ventures. The professor firmly warned, at this age your money must be safe. Any careless loan can push you into irreversible financial ruin. 6. Set limits on kindness. Learn to say no. In old age, our love for our children and grandchildren knows no bounds, yet the professor advised, blind kindness can become foolish sacrifice. Don't mortgage your savings to pay for weddings or gifts. Don't repay your child's business debts at your own expense. Don't drain your retirement fund out of momentary softness. Help within your means. Never jeopardize your financial independence. 7. Write a will and settle affairs in advance. The professor emphasized, a will is wisdom, not bad omen. Divide assets clearly and fairly. Appoint trustworthy executors. Specify your end-of-life care wishes in writing. With careful preparation, you can fully enjoy your remaining years without lingering worries. 8. Financial freedom equals mental freedom. As long as you control your finances, you control your life. It's not about having great wealth, but knowing what is enough, how to spend wisely, how to stay independent, how to withstand unexpected life events. The professor smiled and concluded, "No freedom is sweeter than the freedom of old age." As I close this message, I offer one final reflection from the retired professor, words that have comforted countless elderly hearts. Old age is not defeat, nor should it be feared. It is a rare season where wisdom, clarity, and quiet strength bloom. We must accept that youth has passed, but serenity can still grow. The body may slow down, but the spirit remains vibrant. Loneliness may visit, but friendships, hobbies, and inner peace can fill the space. Old age teaches us the art of letting go of control over our children's lives, letting go of regrets from the past, letting go of unnecessary attachments. Yet it also teaches us to hold on. Hold on to health, your greatest wealth. Hold on to kindness, your gift to others. Hold on to joy, your fountain of youth. At this stage of life, true happiness is simple: good health, warm meals, peaceful nights, and hearts free of resentment. As long as you wake up each morning and feel grateful for another sunrise, you are already living richly.